Hello everyone, I am back again after quite some time. Unfortunately, to find myself now amidst the black forest of AI bots that the internet has become. But in any case, VCF Midwest 2025 is approaching fast, and I went there last year with a friend, and I kind of wanted to show you what I got there and a bit of the festival to hype you up for 2025. So let's check it out. So I did a bunch of things in this trip, but to avoid boring you with my life, I'll be really fast about it. I went to Las Vegas to compete in the World's Master IBJJF Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competition. Whew, that's a mouthful. Then I visited a friend in Vancouver, took another flight to a friend's hometown in the Midwest, and finally we drove to Chicago for VCF. VCF Midwest was the biggest concentration of like-minded people in the retro PC hobby that I have ever seen. Clearly, everyone has their own little obsession. There were people over there with collections of Atari systems of all kinds. I find Atari computer systems very interesting. I don't know a lot about them, but I think they produce some pretty cool images for the time, and there was no shortage of them over there. Now some other folk are into MSX computers. MSX computers were cool because they were designed from a default standard and a bunch of companies got into them like Sanyo, Sony, Panasonic, just to mention a few. The Commodore gang was also there with some Commodore 64s and some Amiga stuff. That's always nice to see. I know someone that's obsessed with Amigas. I'm not going to rat on him though. And the Apple gang, of course. There were hundreds of vintage Apple computers there. There was even a small LAN where people were playing multiplayer games. Yeah, so there was a good share of vintage PCs and games, usually the things I'm mostly drawn to. There were dozens of sellers and we could hunt around for stuff, which is basically the best part of collecting something. You do have to search a bit, and not everything had a reasonable price tag to it, but there were things for everyone, and I personally found plenty of things I wanted. Now moving to the games I bought, there were 5. I'm going to start from the oldest to the more recent one. So the first one will be Spirit of Excalibur from 1990. And this is the only one I couldn't run from the media that was in the box. After trying for a bit, eventually I downloaded some images of discs and ran it. And there it is. So in this game, what you have to do is, well, I have to be honest with you, I didn't quite get it. I really need more time to read the menu at length. But at first sight, you and your company of knights have to go down to a citadel in the bottom of the map, and there are some encounters on the way there. Whenever you cross a unit that isn't friendly, you can choose to engage it, and I think there's some sort of tactical element to it in which you have the option to interfere or not. But like I was telling you, I didn't quite get it. In any case, the art is gorgeous, the MIDI soundtrack sounds great. Maybe someday I'll sit down with the manual and figure out what I have to do here. Another real oldie I got was the Koshan Conspiracy from 1992. This game is also known as Bat 2. It's a point-and-click game with some mechanics I had never seen before. There are multiple frames on the screen when you move around the scenes. They accumulate to a certain point, and I feel they went for a comic book page style of art here. Another interesting thing they did is that when you travel around by car, you can choose to drive the car, or you can select the autopilot. But the interesting thing is that when you drive the car, it's cheaper than when you use autopilot. Okay. Next one I got was Lords of Magic from 1997. It seems like this game was inspired by Heroes of Might and Magic, which grew to be a big series and it can be very enjoyable, but they tried doing something different with Lords of Magic. So you move around the map with your troops all condensed into one unit, just like home. But when you get into an instance in which you have to fight, it's not turn-based, it's in real time. That can be cool, but it's extremely challenging. At least you can pause mid-fight to set your strategy, but I found this really tough anyway. The next game I have here is Star Trek Starfleet Command from 1999. Now this seems much like something that inspired an indie game I like very much called Faster Than Light. Give that a try if you haven't, but in FTL, you don't have to worry about the spaceship's movement and you can pause mid-battle to adjust strategies. While in Starfleet Command, movement is actually another variable and you can't really pause like in FTL. Well, you can pause, but the game is not made for you to set your strategy up while you're on pause, if you get what I'm saying. I thought it was very challenging, not a lot of instructions either, so yeah, good luck on trying to play this one. Star Trek Armada is the last game on my list here, and it's an RTS from the year 2000. Like the other game, I can't really play a lot of the soundtrack because it will probably get tagged for copyright infringement, so let's go straight to it. This one plays like any other RTS, not a lot of innovation, but it's pretty fun. It's interesting how in both the Star Trek games they managed to ignore that space is 3D, and they made the whole game in one single plane. That's probably just a limitation of the genre and of the times. I find that the game is alright, not brilliant, but cool, and with the theme I enjoy. So yeah, that was it, and I'm glad to finally be back doing something. I really enjoy being a part of the retro community, and I hope that we can always keep supporting real people and ignoring all the AI nonsense. Thanks for sticking around, and I'll see you on the next one.